Welcome, everyone. Today we have guest Petrona Joseph, who is an award-winning communication strategist, Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award recipient, and MHFA. I knew I was going to say that funny. Certified mental health workshop facilitator. She blends storytelling and strategy to help organizations build strong brands while fostering psychological safety, human-centered cultures and overall safety, psychological safety, right? One of Petrona's really interesting things is that she is trilingual. Is that correct?
Oui, je parle français. Je parle français, je parle italien. I'm Italiano, so it's the most random thing I speak in French.
Oh, wow, that's great. That's great. Side note, my boyfriend was a Spanish teacher. His family is from Italy, so he speaks Italian, but he was born here in so he's also
Nice.
trilingual, but I feel like he can speak any language. When we get in Ubers, he's always able to talk to people. I'm like, were they speaking Italian or Spanish? And he's like, neither. They were speaking something. I'm like, oh my God. So you are a linguist by training. So before we get deeper into the work, I would love to know this question. This is the neuroscience-y, nerdy part of me. Which language do you actually think in when no one's listening? Or what is your mind speaking in?
It's so interesting. I process things in French, believe it or not.
Oh,
So sometimes you'll see me stare and I'm like, Cam, which language am I speaking? Because I'm processing it in French.
yeah.
But when I'm
Yeah.
upset, I speak in French.
Huh?
It pisses me off because you're going to hear some French. You know what I mean?
So,
Funny enough, my dog preferred Italian.
wow.
So my dog, so I'd be like, siedi, that which means to sit. If I sit in Italian, she knows I'm serious. If I sit in French, she knows I'm serious. But if I sit in English, she'll just look at me and continue walking. I was like, sad, you know? But if I say assieds-toi, that in French, oh, she knows it's business.
Wow. That is amazing. I love that. I love that. I should have him try to speak to my dogs in Italian and see what happens. That's
Very
great.
interesting.
That's great. Well, I want to jump into why we're here to talk about like your advocacy, your book, which is about to be released. But first, I just really want to get a little bit of background about you. Like, where did you grow up? And, as briefly as you want or as in depth as you want, how did you get from where you grew up to here, where you are now, which you can tell.
I always say, do you want the short version or you want the long version? So I'll give you the short version. The short version is really, I think that I had life out since I was 18. But life did not out the way I expect. Every loop, every detour, everything that has happened to me, I'm grateful for it because it really gave me precedence to what I'm doing today, which is mental health advocacy, and I'm a publicist. Born in Trinidad, migrated to Grenada, migrated to New York, ended up in Montreal. That's how I speak French. So in
Okay.
Montreal, we have something called French immersion.
Uh-huh.
So at a very young age, we had to learn French. It was obligatory.
Yeah.
I was set on being a lawyer. So
Okay.
all of my studies, right? So I got my first degree in linguistics. Linguistics is great, but people think that linguistics is the study of languages. It's really not. Linguistics is, well, you're in pathology, you were in speech pathology. So
Yep.
you know that linguistics is the science of language. So you're there, you're studying the etymology of one word. Like one word, you could be on that assignment for like, I don't know, 2-3 days, just one word. And I'm like, this can't
Wow.
be my life. I graduated.
You did it.
I did. Yes, by God's grace. And then I started a second degree. And one of the things that I think is important to note is that sometimes as women, we keep going, and we ignore our mental health. I started having mental health issues at the age of 23 on my second degree, but I kept ignoring it because I'm ambitious.
Yep.
I'm a marketing director for this amazing company. I'm traveling. I'm in Vegas one day, San Francisco the next day, and I'm doing my full-time studies. There's no way I can be having mental health issues.
Right.
Right. So I can continue my streak, working hard. I work hard. And then end up in law school. So that was the goal, to end up in law school, to end up with the partner, in affluence, end up in a certain category of life where you have made it.
Right.
Thought I made it. until I started studying and I was like, law school is not it. I was studying law school too in French. I never
Oh,
gave it a try in English. So maybe I will give it a try later. I dropped out. After the first semester, I was too exhausted. You know what I mean? I had
yeah.
1.5 degree under my belt already. And then, long story short, ended up in real estate, ended up in the car business because I bought a luxury car, right? Because I'm ambitious, right?
Yeah.
I'm pushing, I'm pushing, I'm pushing. So I'm like, I'm going to have these multi-million dollar cars. They can't be transported in my 323 Mazda. Me invest in a beautiful luxury vehicle, right? And I ended up working for the company for many years. And I
Wow.
never knew there was this other side of PR, and marketing and, client image and all that stuff. So it was really business development all the way up to Bentley Motors, a Bentley client versus, let's say, a BMW client. It's different. So I learned the difference between marketing. How do you market an Aston Martin? So
Yeah.
that was really interesting. And then one day I ended up on TV. It was after my stint on TV, I had a TV show.
Wow.
Go figure.
Wow. Oh,
But all of that, I was a very serious person. After not going to law school, I didn't know what to do with myself. I really
mhm.
didn't, because this was my only goal in life, to be a lawyer. So I was very lost. And although I ended up doing all of these amazing things, I was really happy about it. I would say my Barbies were always very serious Barbies. My Barbies were the business Barbies.
Right.
Everything they weren't, I don't know, astronauts, or my Barbie were always in an office. I didn't like the way I wasn't prepared for TV. I didn't think that I had, because it was a fashion segment. And it was at that time I started doing PR. So people were always calling me, "How did you get on TV? How did you do this?" I was like, oh. And I started charging $25 an hour like 15 years ago,
Yeah.
and that obviously quadrupled during the time. But I love PR. It's really hard though, because it's a thankless job.
Right.
After you get someone on TV or you get them in an amazing magazine feature, you hardly get, "Thank you so much." You get, "Well, could you push for me to be on Oprah's book list?"
Like, what's next?
They
What's
always
bigger?
want more, right?
I can see
And
that.
so, yeah, it's a thankless job. I mean, I
Yeah.
worked for organizations, had large contracts, even my own firm, people working for me, until I transitioned here to Georgia. And in Georgia, I really came after the bigger contracts. It doesn't work the same way in
Yeah.
Georgia as it did in Montreal. So here we are.
So the PR company that you have now, is it working for individuals or are you still working for companies at this
Yeah, it's individuals,
Okay.
as
Yeah.
long as they can pay the bill.
Right. And that's the problem too, right? It's a lot. And PR has probably evolved so
Yes.
much. I mean, it's
ChatGPT as well.
constantly, yeah. AI is changing it right now as we speak.
Yes.
I get a lot of agents asking for their clients to come on the podcast, and I can see interviewed some really amazing people, and I have a lot of amazing people like in the docket too. A lot of people who want to promote their book and stuff, but I can see as the PR person that you keep having to nudge them, like, okay, now they've put these Instagram posts out. You have to agree to collaborate.
Right. Yeah.
You
Well,
have to keep helping them promote the episode that you're in. And I think people are probably doing 15, 20, 30 podcasts to promote their books if they're doing a good job. So it's a lot.
it is a lot. I always tell clients I'm going to be their annoying best friends.
That's funny. You're like, the post down. Oh my God, get it done. It's hilarious. Oh, it's a lot. It's a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
Well, let's talk about your path to advocacy. Where did that work begin? Because that's something that you are feeling very passionately about right now. How did it begin and what made it personal for you?
As I mentioned before, at the age of 23, I started having anxiety attacks. We had these beautiful dinners and then have to go to the corner and sit by myself like this. And my friends didn't know what was wrong with me. And I ended up at the hospital. But of course, being an overachiever, I read so much about anxiety and it said you have to work out. So I started working out twice a day, going to million of spas because they say the eucalyptus helps you relax. So I tried so many years to find natural remedies, fix my diet and nothing was helping, but I kept moving forward. So what kept happening was that I would be in places, and because I kept pushing myself to get through the panic attack. Panic attacks, if you've ever had one, it leaves you fatigued, right? So then the panic attacks started developing into depression. I always knew there was a bit of sadness to my life. Everybody, I think, has a degree of sadness. Then my sadness started being started changing phone numbers all the time, with the powers for 3 days. I was I couldn't understand what I was experiencing, right? Because here's
Right.
my life. I'm doing all these amazing things. I'm traveling. I'm working for the best companies, but then I get home. I don't want to go anywhere. I'm ghosting people. So I just figured out, you know what? It's burnout. I continued another 10 years with that, different remedies. And I come from a family, our background is Trinidadian. And in a Trinidadian household, we left behind the struggles. Here in North America, first world country, you have running water, you have a vehicle. Come on, life couldn't be that bad. You're just ungrateful. No problem. Until one day, I was suspended 30,000 feet in the air. And I always thank God for that experience. Worst and most scary experience of my life. I was one of those drivers who loves to drive fast but suffer from a panic attack. So on any given day, I could be driving and then all of a sudden, I feel like the road is collapsing. I feel like I'm going to die and I'm at can't control. I can't see anything. That particular morning, I stopped on a bridge, suspended in the air, in rush hour. And the officers came and they're like, the people who manned the bridge, and they're like, you got to get off this bridge. You're holding up traffic. But I was just stuck there because I thought I was going to die. I thought the car was going to fall off the bridge. And I moved. And that was at the height and the worst of anxiety. I drove myself straight to the hospital. At the hospital, they were starting to prescribe me. For me to get back home, I need to take that bridge. I started off slowly with something that would calm me. And then that eventually led to a one-on-one conversation with our family doctor, who was like, I've been telling you for years, you're suffering with depression and anxiety. Let me put you on antidepressants. Couldn't forget the conversation because I felt that everything I worked for in my life was obsolete. I felt the failure. I was about, there's no way I need to take antidepressants. Okay, with the prescription for the anxiety. Then he tells me, and I think that maybe you should go see her. Like, are you kidding me? Like, well, what? Me, a psychologist? I was really, really upset. We're sitting in my car and I had to make a decision. Am I going to keep on stepping with these? Because he said it'll help the panic attacks. It will help your depression. The depression part was tough for me to accept. It was really something I was suffering with. If you had seen me in those days, you would think like, okay, this girl, I was up my rocker. Just 1 minute, I'm super, super traveling, enjoying life. And the next minute, if you're my friend, you cannot find me. I ghost you. Right. And then I come back. Hey, how you doing? I'm in Florida. Where are you?
Nobody knew what they were going to get, right?
I was struggling. And I always say taking my first antidepressant, it was the best decision I've ever made because I didn't know waking up could be so easy. I started waking up in the mornings and I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm awake. Before that, 20 years. Come on, Petrona, you deserve to live. You could do this. Wake up. You got a fantastic life. So I always had to coach myself out of bed. And by the time I got out of bed, I didn't have any energy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But here I am waking up. I'm making my bed. Oh my goodness. I invested in such a great bed. You know, I'm a girly girl. So I had these accessories to my bed. And one day, like, I made it old. Here I added all my accessories. Like, look at me. Oh my goodness, my dress, But it's something as that, right?
Yeah.
It was extremely hard for me, even as an executive in the luxury car business. Okay? So then I was off the antidepressant in the pandemic because every year, and that's the thing, people think that the healing process, it's a one-time fix. I'm like, okay, I'm going to take these antidepressants in a year, it'll be okay.
Yeah.
Every year I kept telling my doctor, take me off of these things. He said, okay yet. And that continued for 10 years. I didn't even take an escalator in a mall. Okay?
Wow.
If you're shopping with me and there's an escalator, I needed to hold you because attacks were that severe. I couldn't walk places My poor trainer. And I'm like, I can't make it. I'm sorry. I can't, like, it just some days that's how it is when you live with anxiety. When I weaned off of antidepressants in 2019, 2020, I couldn't deal with feeling all of, and some things came back. Some things were healed, but some things were, the same thing, which was the driving. Attacks while driving. Many people suffer with that on highways and, like very, very roads. And so what do you do if you're driving and you just have a panic attack? So you're taught you tap, you're taught to soothe, right?
Yep.
You're
Yep.
driving, you know?
Right. You can't do that. Yeah.
So your first instinct for me, I started saying, okay, when I'm starting to have attacks, I'll go in the middle lane and I'll put on, and, to signal that, hey, something is wrong with.
Right.
And on a particular day, my friend, she says, come over. And also couldn't be outside when it was dark. If it's far, okay, because I lived in the downtown. If you're in the suburbs and I have to travel at a certain distance, forget it. I'm not coming, especially at night.
Right.
Get me in the day.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, those are some of the quirks that you have to survive when you're dealing with certain anxiety or certain levels of, body dysregulation. Because it's not just you're feeling it, it's not just in your head, you feel it. Your
It's in your
body
body.
goes
Absolutely.
in your body. This glorious day, my friends said, come over, we're gonna swim. I'm looking at the clock. So it took me because mind you, I weaned off of no longer an antidepressant. Looking at outside, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go, I have to cross this bridge. We're gonna have fun though. Get there super late, but I came with the food and I came with gifts. That's 6. I'm like, I
Gotta go. Gotta go.
just think of me saying, I had to eat and run. So I got in my car and I started going back home, and boom, another panic attack. It was
Oh,
really
no.
saddening for me because I'm like, I spent the last day working on this and I just cannot believe I'm not back to the level I used to be at. Right?
Yeah.
And then just Trump saying to me, and he's not getting it. It's like, what is not clicking, sir? I'm having a panic attack. I'm in the middle lane. And he just kept going, boo.
Which is making it worse.
Exactly. Right. So being an ex TV personality or whatever, influencer, call it what you want. And guess what I did? Blogger and me went Facebook. Hey, next time y'all see somebody,
Yeah. Oh, yes.
and I wrote it. I said, people suffer with panic attacks. And that was the start for me. Hey, could you come on the radio and talk about that? Hey, could you do this? Could you come on TV, talk about that? The rest was history. I wrote a first book. My first book was horrible. And my first book is horrible. Okay, it has a 1-star on Amazon. But if I know how somebody really long done, I'm like, I'm going to give her a 1 star.
Right.
But they
Right.
did. So I wrote the book. However, the book does talk about my depression. So over time, I started rewriting that part, and elaborating a little bit more.
Yeah.
So I took that book back and I worked on it because what else could we do during the pandemic, right? We couldn't
Right.
really do much. So I wrote the book, and that was 5 years ago, and the book just exploded. And that led me to really become an experiential. And I know right now in the mental health community, there are so many discussions, especially on Thread, about certifications, about legitimacy. I am an experimental speaker, which means that when I speak, there is always a professional at this stage with me or in virtual to make sure there's a balance. Because
Right.
a lot of times what happens is that you go to conferences, there could be a psychologist, licensed therapist, or like, people don't really understand from the perspective of someone who's this. On my book, I really wrote it so people could understand this is what I'm living with, or they could see what was going on in the mind of depression and anxiety.
Yeah. That's important. It's so important to have lived it for sure.
Yes.
Yes. That, and you're releasing another book, a new book, or is the
I
one?
have.
Okay.
Yeah.
So tell us about that. Is it a totally different theme? What's in the new book?
It relates back to mental health. Because one of the things too is erratic. Everything else in your, unless you go through therapy to understand regulation, there are certain things like for me, I had everything on auto pay, right?
Mhm.
Because paying a bill, even if the money was there, it was so I had so much anxiety to go to the computer. And so with therapy, my therapist at the time, she was like, just put everything in autopay. So everything was on autopay. I don't have notifications on my phone, right? So, but because I was erratic, I mentioned I was 3 days in Paris, right? I was there, packed everything out. So guess what else was, of course, my relationships.
I'm going to pause you for just a second, Petrona. Your audio is cutting in and out all of a sudden.
No, don't tell me, because I'm in Georgia.
It's, I don't know if it's your headphones or it's your phone. It's just
Okay.
every once in a while at the end when you're talking, it's cutting out. And I want to make sure it's not like that.
Let me pay this Bluetooth.
Sorry to interrupt your story.
Okay, what about now?
That is better, much better.
Okay, so settings, but how come I don't hear you better?
Do I sound weird?
You sound like you're far. My Bluetooth is off, so it's not connected to my earphone, but you can hear me?
Yep, I can hear you and it's much better. It's not cutting out.
Okay.
So I
Well,
think
yeah,
we're,
okay.
as long as you can hear me, I think it's okay because my microphone will be picking up the recording. So it's okay.
Okay.
Sorry. I'm so sorry to interrupt you. Okay.
And that's okay.
Just, I'm going to say cut and then you can just start wherever you want with that
Okay.
and yeah, maybe go back just a little bit so that I can cut out the part that was cutting out.
Okay. Let me just see one more thing here. Why can't I hear you better? Okay.
What does the Zoom speaker say?
Oh, okay. So Zoom speaker, audio. Okay, this is microphone, meeting settings. I wouldn't video and its effects, HD.
Should be under audio.
Audio. Okay. So under audio, original sound. It says recommended for most users. This setting will automatically adjust noise suppression.
Does it say where the sound is coming from? Like, is it coming from your phone speaker?
Okay. Let me see something else here. It doesn't, but that's okay. I'm gonna try this one. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, it's the same thing. Okay.
Yeah,
That's fine, Leslie. I can hear you.
Okay. All right. So we were just before Paris.
My erratic behaviors.
Yes. Yes. So just start. I'm going to say cut and then start back in that.
Okay.
All right.
So guess what else was erratic in my life? When I talk about dysregulation, I really mean there were certain parts of my life that were heavily affected. If I'm there studying, I was very studious, it was just me and the books, right?
Yeah.
But then, like I mentioned, getting online to pay a bill, it would scare me for no
Wow.
reason, right? Because the
Wow.
money was there. I was working hard.
Right.
Answering phones for a while, I couldn't. I had a BlackBerry when I was going through that phase. My BlackBerry, it was a long time ago.
Oh my God.
My BlackBerry it always, and we didn't really have, like, now with the iPhones, you can silence incoming calls or
Yeah.
there's a lot more advanced technology. But back then, it's your phone's going to ring or you turn it off. And so I needed to learn how to manage that level of anxiety. But I was very erratic in most of my relations, right? I'm talking relations with my family, my relations with coworkers, very, very unstable, which today I credit all of the success in my relationship management to really getting therapy and being regulated, because people couldn't understand why would I ghost them? And I apologized the other day publicly on Threads because last year I ghosted a whole bunch of people, right? It's something you need to learn how to manage.
Right.
But my relationships were also unstable. So I was in a 17-year relationship, which
Wow.
I learned to understand it was an abusive relationship, right? But that pattern was a pattern that repeated itself. I was with him, he was with me. Were we faithful? No, it was a mess. It was unstable, right?
Yeah.
And I guess I'm not a licensed professional, but according to licensed professionals, the relationship was really a trauma bond, because why am I going back to someone who cheated on me? And why is this person who I cheated on comes back to me
Yeah.
over and over and over again. So the level of betrayal, which is the second part. So the book is called Unsafe Love. I was always drawn by unsafe personalities, unsafe love, right?
Yeah.
And I was also unsafe in love. It wasn't safe to love me
Yeah.
because one minute we're living together and life is great. Then the next minute I'll ghost you for 3 months.
Right. So you would be considered the person who had an avoidant attachment in that situation, right? Because you're talking about ghosting a lot, and that's
I still do.
definitely a telltale sign of that. But I do want to talk about what you've learned about trauma bonds. You've spoken about how it gets mistaken for love often. I
Mhm.
would agree with that. I talk a lot about trauma bonds as well, and I've experienced my own in a different way. What do you think makes it really hard for people to recognize? Why do you think it makes it hard? It's hard.
Because it feels like love.
It feels so intense.
Yeah. But it feels like, oh my goodness, he's coming back to me. He
Right.
really does love me.
Mm. Yeah. And when somebody keeps returning to somebody who hurts them over and over again, and vice versa, what do you think that's pointing to in reality based on the work you've done?
I think it all has to do with childhood, the
Mhm.
patterns you learned in childhood, right?
Yeah.
So that was a pattern I had seen in childhood. I had, our parents do our best, but I had seen it. So I'm like, okay, so this is perhaps the way we should relate.
Yep.
This is perhaps the patterns, right? So I developed this pattern also in my relations to adults. I'm writing a book right now, Overcoming Childhood Adversity. And in that book, I realized that the first safe adult that I had ever met in my life was at the age of 12 in boarding school. At
Wow.
12, I met a safe. When you describe the definition of a safe human being, she was safe. She wanted my good. And you felt it. Although she was very stern, she was a dean, right? But I knew instinctively as a child, this woman really has good intentions for me. Imagine you're navigating life and you're letting people repeatedly overstep your boundaries. And that's another thing that happens in trauma bonds,
Yep.
right?
Yes.
Your boundaries are being eroded
Yeah.
because you love this person and you think that they love you and they're telling you they love you. And the intensity is unmatched,
Yep. Yep.
right? And
Yes.
my propensity was always not only men that were unstable mentally, but men who suffered with addictions.
Mm.
I couldn't understand it. So that 17 years, there were various substances that were repeatedly and constantly being consumed. And I
Yeah.
always thought, oh, it's a phase. I can heal him. I'm codependent.
Right.
My love can
Right. We
change
all
him.
think we can heal them. Always. Yes.
Oh yeah, I'm different. I'm going to show him what stability looks like, and that will change it.
Right.
Absolutely not, because the trauma bonding, you accept certain behaviors, and the number one behavior that I accepted was being with an unsafe person and being with a person who constantly betrayed me. And I, on some levels, betrayed because you think you're going to do that and get away with it. To
Yeah.
me, buddy, I am the queen of the get back.
Oh, so
This
many
book
people are
actually, I
stuck
wrote it.
there.
Pardon?
I said so many people are stuck there though.
Because
When
I
my
think it's
therapist,
love.
well, they think it's love and it's very confusing. And I think if you haven't experienced it or you don't know you've experienced it, it's really hard to wrap your head around it. But it feels like a craving, much like an addiction. It really
Yeah,
is
it is
an
an addiction.
addiction.
And
And
that's, I have
so,
one of my chapters on that. Is it
yeah,
love or is it an addiction?
and it's biologically an addiction. Now, for me, when my therapist said that this is an addiction and this is what's actually happening with your neurochemicals, you're getting the dopamine hit and that's reinforcing. Once I understood it from a neuroscience perspective, for me, the way my brain and my mind works, I was like, oh, so when the feeling came, the rush and the desperation and the craving, then I was like, oh, this isn't real. So for me, it was like that was in a past relationship. I would say there have been more recent relationships where it's a little more like, "Oh, I don't want to believe that, right? We don't want to believe
Mhm.
it. We want to believe it's
Mhm.
love
We do.
because so many times in these dynamics where it's often a combination of either a mean nice or a betrayal and then this like charm and throwing themselves at you, or it's up and down, right? So there's some
Yes.
kind of contrast happening, which creates the bond, because that's what it's giving our nervous system, this release of chemicals, and then
Yes.
and then the need for the chemical, right? Like, and so it's 100% an addiction, but it's
It's
so
so
hard to
hard.
break.
And the
So hard to break.
withdrawal.
There's
I literally
withdrawal.
have you been through the withdrawal of a trauma bond?
Yes,
No joke.
it's no joke, and I'm sure you're covering this in your book, but also, whatever our primary wound is, we're probably seeking out the experience of having that wound happen
Yes.
over and over again. And
Yes.
I look at it each time we do these things, we find someone and they're pushing at our wound or touching on our
Mhm.
wound. It's an opportunity to heal that wound. Not everyone realizes that. Most people don't.
Right.
Because of my training and my understanding and my intense curiosity about this, I get it. So even now with my current boyfriend, if something happens, my response is always, okay, this is an area for me to expand. I have something to learn here. I've called this in for a reason. But that's because I have an immense amount of training. I love internal family systems, so I'm all about my parts. And I have an intense curiosity. I think
Mhm.
many people just get stuck in these cycles. And something I see really often, especially because I work with so many people who are going through breakup and divorce, it's really my specialty, is choosing the same partner over and
Mhm.
over and over again. What is your perspective as a non-therapist, but someone who's an advocate and is in this space? Why do even people who are doing the work, why do they keep choosing the same person and the
Mhm.
same cycle over and over again?
It's really sad. You're trying to close the loop. If you think about it, it's really sad, you
Yeah,
know? I know my mom passed away when I was 3. I was in foster care for a while. I was in detention homes for a while because I was looking for that thing. I ended up in boarding school because it was either we put her in rehabilitation, rehabilitation at a very young age, or the state takes her. So my dad decided, well, let me give her a try and put her in a boarding school, a Christian boarding school.
yeah,
But that loop, I know it kept, and so I kept trying to close that loop in my female friendships.
yeah,
So I ended up in very traumatic female friendships because I kept letting people erode my boundaries. If I allow her to do this and I don't really feel comfortable with it, but she's my friend,
yeah.
right? Then you end up with partners, you're trying to close that loop. And I don't know if my dad's going to listen to this, but when my mom passed away, so what happened was when my mom passed away, I lost my mom and then my dad traveled, right?
Yeah,
So there's this part, and he left us in the care of someone, and he did go looking for a better life, and he did find a better life, and then sent for us. That's very cultural,
yeah,
right? But here we are. We just lost our 2 primary caretakers, and I think that and then when they sent me to boarding school, like for me, it was a case of abandonment,
right,
right?
right.
So my dad, for me, ugh, God, I'm getting emotional. I'm sorry. Because that's one of
Yeah,
the things that the book does, right? I'm so sorry. I'm getting very emotional. That is one of the things that the book does. The book, while I say unsafe love and I say healing from trauma bonds, betrayal, and unsafe attachments, unfortunately, sometimes throughout our childhood, we develop these patterns because our primary caretakers are unsafe.
yeah,
So
right.
then you're trying to close the loop. So here I am, and I love that you brought that up because when I realized, hey, I'm trying to close that loop at this stage also in my life, I'm not talking to my dad
Yeah,
because I realized, oh, my father fits this category and I love him. He's a fantastic man, fantastic provider, right? Nothing ill will against my father. I love my father and he knows that. But my father has had, I would say, not the best management skills when it comes to relations to his children,
right,
right?
right.
So my wound was abandonment, right?
Yeah,
So when this guy abandons me and he comes back, it's like, oh, subconsciously, I'm thinking, my father has returned, right? And it takes a lot of work with a licensed therapist. It takes a lot of work to get there. So
Yeah.
then when you get that call after immense betrayal and immense disappointment, you're not going to be back in that loop. Funny enough, after I wrote my book about, so the relationship that I wrote the book about was the catalyst for the book. It was a recent relationship. It was recent,
Mm.
and he was erratic. He was a vet, very, very nice guy, very, very nice guy.
Yep.
However, his patterns as well, because he was adopted,
He has his own stuff. Yeah.
right? So every time he came back to me and I took him back, I represented the mom who was the mother figure who abandoned him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, we don't often consider the other person's wounds when they've hurt us, but many times it's a match, right?
Yes.
Especially the ones that last
Yes.
a long
And
time.
abandonment is a huge one.
It's a huge one. And I find that many times we have a wound associated with our opposite gender or opposite sex parent, right? So it's many women have a dad wound, many men have a mother wound. And so when that happens and we meet someone whose wounds, they don't match ours, they line up, they complement or they fit, right? And sometimes that can be very healing. Actually, my boyfriend and I had a discussion about it, and a friend of mine we had a discussion about it yesterday. Oh, did you lose video of me?
I did.
Just a second. I am so sorry.
It's okay. It should be back up.
Sorry. Ugh,
It's okay.
we are having tech issues today. But it's going well and the sound is much better. So I appreciate your patience with earlier.
Yes.
All right. Okay. I'm going to cut back from here. And so what the conversation we were having yesterday, so it's ironic that this is coming up now, was that it's not always bad when we meet someone whose wounds match up with ours. Sometimes it really gives us this beautiful opportunity to heal ourselves. And I would say my current relationship, which is coming up on 3 years, has gone through some really, really rocky times. A lot associated with the fact that I've met him right after I came out of my divorce and I still had things to work on. And those things just happened to be things that I couldn't have worked on outside of a relationship. They needed to be addressed inside. He's in a lot of therapy and has a lot of things that is working on, pretty significant complex trauma. And so for him, meeting someone who is a therapist has been a gift because I'm the first person that ever said to him, "You have trauma." Like he's written a memoir about it, but no one ever called it trauma. And no one ever said, "You need this type of therapy. You need to address it this way." And so in 3 years, he's grown immensely. And we recognize like there's a lot more work to do, which he's doing. Finally, he has like EMDR and IFS trained therapists, which I believe is critical and pivotal for him. But he also has had to heal a lot of his issues, a lot related to an avoidant attachment style. He couldn't have healed those things outside of a relationship. It's not easy being the person that goes through that with you and vice versa, right? But I think we both recognize that no matter how long the relationship lasts, we have each fostered so much growth in one another, and it just couldn't have happened any other way. So it's tricky though. I don't recommend my clients seek out someone who's has severe complex PTSD or complex
Right.
trauma,
It's not for the
right?
weak.
It is not like you really have to be a certain level of or a type of person. And I have way more training and I have extremely high resilience, which is a gift from my own childhood. Sometimes our childhood trauma gives us resilience and sometimes it gives us other things like severe anxiety. Mine gave me resilience and it also gave me a horrific abandonment wound, but we all We're
Oh,
all
yeah.
coming to the table, and I think we're walking around, especially when we're dating and we're meeting people, we're walking around and we are going to be attracted to the person who's going to complement our trauma. We just
Mhm.
are.
Mhm.
And the trick is getting out of the relationships that are abusive and are harmful before they cause harm, right?
Yes.
And that's where
Yes.
I think that people really struggle. And we're all walking around traumatized. We're all
Mhm.
walking around imperfect, and that's okay. We just don't want to stay in a situation, whether it be a friendship, a romantic relationship, a job that is causing harm. And I think that you talk a lot about supporting people through mental health crisis. I think
Mhm.
a lot of our mental health crisis comes down to our inability to walk away, our
Right.
inability to set boundaries
Mhm.
and see the early warning signs in relation, see the red flags in all of
Right.
these situations. It's not just romantic relationships, it's also friendships, it's also work. So you are supporting people now and you're a facilitator. What do you think most people misunderstand about supporting someone who is in a mental health crisis? When you were
Mhm.
having those anxiety attacks on bridges and at night, like what would have helped you and supported you at that time better than what was available for you?
Right. But before I do speak on that, I just want to say thank you so much for sharing your experience with your current relationship, because I think that we talk a lot about trauma bonds and we talk a lot about the devastating effect. But that perspective, it was so beautiful, Leslie. It's just so encouraging because a lot of people think that they might be doomed,
Mm.
right? To repeat the
Yeah.
same loop, to repeat the
Yeah.
same pattern. And some people are terrified being in a relationship, right? So you gave me hope. So thank you for sharing that. And I applaud your partner for doing the work. And I think that's also important because not only are you supporting and you're facilitating based on your own resilience, but he is not only lucky, he's blessed to have found a partner that encouraged him on the path to his healing journey,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But he did the work and he's doing the work.
He's
And that's
doing the work.
important. He
It is.
cannot heal anyone.
No. And it's voluntary. He was already in therapy when I met him, just so no
Right.
one comes after me for saying you're trying to change him. No, he was already in CBT therapy,
Okay.
which he always says he started the year before we met. And he said CBT therapy got me to the point where I could attract someone like you. And then once we met and I read the first page of his book and I was like, "Oh." And my therapist was like, "Are we sure we wanna go down this road? This is gonna be a lot." And I was like, "Yeah," like, but my whole body is saying yes because 'cause I'm very embodied and I'm very much about thinking about I trust what my body's telling me over what my mind is gonna tell me any day of the week. And my body was
Oh,
saying, "Yes." This person calmed me. Sorry, there's sirens outside, so I'm gonna cut that part.
what's going on
I
today?
don't know. It's crazy. Yeah. Okay. I think it's passed. So, yeah, I often tell my clients because I do work with a lot of younger women right now. For whatever reason, my practice is attracting a lot of women in their early 30s who are either trying to leave an unhealthy situation or they've just left and they're really struggling because of the trauma bond and they're afraid to meet new people and afraid to move on. And I tell them what my therapist told me, and she was not exactly happy with my choice to stay in this relationship because she could
Oh,
tell
really?
the writing was on the wall. There's gonna be a lot of ups and downs. And she wasn't wrong. Like when you step into a relationship with someone who is on their healing journey, you're going to be on the roller coaster. Healing is amazing. I think we should all be in therapy. I think it should be almost like mandatory. But when someone's digging in and they have complex trauma, it's not going to
Hmm.
be an easy road. And I don't mean
No.
that as them being abusive to you or anything like that, but it's a roller coaster. We knew when he was prepping to start with this internal family systems therapist, okay, like all of his parts are going to be on edge. We're going to be navigating into territory that he's never been able to get to before. And that's not
Mm.
going to be simple. It's not going to be easy. It's not all fairy tale-ish, right? Like there are
Right.
some really hard days and really hard weeks sometimes when you start digging into that old trauma and all the protectors that
Mhm.
we created. And you probably have a lot of protectors because of your childhood and your upbringing. Like we all do, but some of us have an intense system in place to protect
Mhm.
us. And he has a very intense system. And he doesn't mind me sharing that because he's not in a place to share it yet, but I think he will be someday. Breaking through, connecting with those protectors and letting them know you're safe now, how old you
Mhm.
are. These are very young defense mechanisms, protectors, parts, whatever you want to call them, that have been doing an incredible job keeping him safe, but they're also
Right.
holding him back, right? Getting in touch with those, it's created issues in our relationship or made our relationship, it's not always date night. And sometimes it's just sitting and listening. And sometimes it's, I need space.
Right.
He has a history like you of ghosting, right? And you can't ghost your girlfriend of 3 years. But if you have a girlfriend who understands that I need space isn't personal, it's a need, it's different. So we've had to
Right.
learn, we've really had to learn. I've
Mhm.
had to learn that my anxiousness is not real. He's not going anywhere. He's had to learn how to reassure me that he's not
Mhm.
going anywhere permanently. And
Mhm.
I've had to learn how to say, honey, take whatever space you need,
Mhm.
right? If we've got to cancel golf or we've got to cancel dinner, I get it. It's not,
Right.
I think that something that we've really learned recently is that because he has an avoidant attachment, he really needs me to have my full life outside of him. I can't need him. He can't think I need him, right? On the day to day. He can't have that because something inside of him is afraid of that. So
Mhm.
it's important for me to have my own friends and have my own life and go play golf with my girlfriends and do whatever
Right.
and let him have his space. Sorry to go down that path too much.
No, but that's fine.
Mhm.
It's ingrained in some people.
I think that we live in this world where biologically we need connection. And we know that people thrive when they have an individual person who's their person, right? We thrive when we have a person, but we're all traumatized. We don't understand ourselves, let alone another person. And so we're all out here looking for another person. And we're drawn to people who are possibly going to hurt us if that's our
Mhm.
cycle. And so I guess learning about ourselves is number one. But then when you
Right.
do decide to enter into a relationship, make sure it's a person who's willing to be curious about themselves and you. And if they're not, it's a no. I have so many friends in the dating space, and I'm like, if they're not in therapy or willing to do therapy, it's a no.
Mhm.
Just walk away. Or if they're
Mhm.
not trying to grow and expand, it's a no. So,
Wow, that everything you said is so beautiful. I got goosebumps.
so
That is so beautiful. I hope you write about it one day so I can read
well,
it.
I'm working on it. I've got my own little book coming soon. So,
Okay, that's
yeah.
exciting.
Yeah. It's a fun time where we can self publish and we can put things out into the world and help people easier than ever, right? It's easier than ever to build things and put them out and help people. So,
Yeah.
let's talk about that, right? I wanted to talk about building psychologically safe cultures and what safety means inside of organizations, even inside of like social media and spaces like this. What does that mean to you?
Well, my first marker of safety is when the younger persons in my family, they call me to give me the tea, right? So I have
Yes.
a niece. Every time I call my sister, she's like,
Mm.
I need to speak to my aunt. And my sister would be like, well, I was talking to her, right? Because I'm my sister's safe person. But not only that, the younger generation. So my niece will get on the phone without hesitation. So this is the tea because she knows she's talking to a safe family member who
Yeah.
will not relate back to the tea,
Yep.
who will not judge her, who will accept her, and she could feel fully in her own. Because when you're with unsafe people or in unsafe connections, it's
Yeah.
physiological, right?
Yep.
So if I don't tell my niece, hey girl, I gotta go, she'll keep me on the phone and tell me all of.
I
So
love
that's
that.
my first marker.
That's a
Oh,
really important thing for kids to be able to open up to you. I'm always
oh yes.
surprised when parents say, I have no idea what's going on. And I'm
Mhm.
like, you don't? I'm really fortunate. All three of my children are more than happy to tell me all the tea, right? Like
Just a great
sometimes
marker as a mother. That
it's
means that you
great.
are
It's
a
great.
safe person.
I am safe with them. And of course, if they've done something terrible, they're probably not going to tell me, right? My 28-year-old is like, you don't know some of the things I did. And I was like, I didn't want to know. Like, if I wanted to know, I could have found out, but I didn't want to know because I know what I did when I was, 18. So, but yeah, that's important. It's important. And it's interesting that you didn't really have a safe person,
I didn't.
but you've learned how to show up as a safe person.
I made the effort to be safe because I wasn't always very safe.
Okay. All right. Yep.
So
What did you have to release? What did you have to let go or unprogram in
mm,
order to be safe?
I had a lot of toxic tendencies in my relational interactions with others. So, for example, in friendships, one thing I had to unlearn is if another friend slighted me about something, not tell my other friend about it.
Yeah.
As
Oh,
simple as that's a huge
yeah.
red flag,
Yep.
right? So now, if I have a friend, if I make a new friend and she's telling me about her other friends or their personal lives, I'm like, okay,
You
red
don't trust.
flag,
Yep. You
this
don't
person
trust
is
them.
unsafe,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Or people that don't, another relational marker is also in business. I'm an entrepreneur. So if, we have an appointment at 11 and it's 11:15, I'm on the Zoom waiting for you and you send me a message afterward and, oh, can we hop back on? That's already indication that you're going to be problematic. This is a red flag. This is an unsafe person. In the past, for the money, yes. But also, I would just keep moving forward. Okay, that's just one meeting.
Yep.
Then it becomes a payment issue. You're late on payment. Then it becomes, and it develops into other things. So
Yeah.
it's how to be safe, right?
Yep.
Now, the reason why I became a mental health facilitator or a mental health first aider was really because I love, and I still love this person to the day, the person of whom the book is based on, seeing that person in mental distress. It didn't matter if I was safe or not. I needed tools because when you're
Yeah.
dealing with people and you're seeing someone you care for experience crisis, it is something that shook me. I spent maybe 6 years as an advocate, speaking virtually, speaking in universities, but I had never really experienced that depth. When I tell you there are people that are experiencing, especially men, there are men who experience trauma on levels we couldn't even imagine. So I
Yep.
needed the tools, right?
Right.
So with the tools, and I've done workshops, I've done plenty workshops, right? But I was never, again, coming from the perspective of someone who was certified. So it's great
Right.
to be certified.
Yeah.
I enjoy it. Now I include the theory, the technicalities, but also the experiential. So when I'm coming across, I have taken antidepressants. So my inbox for a while was, hey, did you take this one? How did this one make you feel? Hey, did you? So that's the experimental part of it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
people will message me, hey, I have a friend who I know is depressed, who, I know he needs some therapy, he needs help. How do you say it? Or how do you suggest that I tell this person? Well, I can tell you that because one of my closest friends, I had to tell him, we had to do almost a suicide intervention with him,
Right.
right? And I can tell you, When I told him the first couple times he needed help, I had to mentally prepare myself for 2 days. Hey, so when he comes to the house, I'm going to serve him some wine. Then I'm going
Right.
to sit like this. And then I'm going to say, I love you so much. But back to my experience,
Yeah.
I was laughed at. I had a friend one day, she says, I think you're bipolar. In those days, when you told someone you think they're bipolar, it's an insult,
Right.
oh, and she laughed.
Right.
So is that conscious? So
Right.
again, back to the mental health facilitating and being a safe person. I think that for some of us, it has to be learned because I was
Yeah.
betrayed in my primary caregivers betrayed me over and over again.
Right.
So guess the pattern that I'm going to do. I'm going to
Yeah.
betray others,
You
betray their
learned it. Yeah.
trust, betray and not being a safe person. You can make like as a friend, you can make a plan with me. I would ghost you. That's not a safe person.
No, but that's what you learned. And we do carry on like whatever we learned. And it can
Exactly.
be, or it could be that I learned everyone has to like us. And therefore we have to be kind to everyone. Treat evil with kindness may be a good thing unless it's so hardwired into you that you cannot create boundaries to keep yourself safe. Because there is a time when you walk away from evil and don't treat it with kindness. But when that's all that you were preached over and over again, and
Over again.
we don't want people to be mad at us. Conflict is bad. That's a whole different programming. And I wish we had more time because I know we don't, but I would love to get into maybe another conversation about what men are dealing with and what they are struggling with because
Ooh.
I think it's an untouched. I actually just started a new playlist in the podcast for men who are post-divorce and are dating and are navigating because I think there's just so much struggle and there's still a large number of men who do not feel safe in therapy. And I think they're older generations. We were golfing the other day and the guys that we were in our foursome with, we got paired up with, were in their 20s and they were talking about relationships and girls and stuff the whole time with each other. And I thought, this is cool. They're each other's safe person. Men in their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, I'm not sure that there's a comfort. I don't know if they have safe people.
Most men don't have safe people.
They don't have a safe person to talk about relationships and what's
here in
working.
the US, mind you, I'm from Canada, right?
Yeah.
Here in the US, there's this whole subsection of veterans that are not safe. They don't feel safe within themselves. And the half of that because relational patterns, right? It affects you mentally.
Yeah.
I am on antidepressants due to a relational pattern that I had with someone with severe mental illness. Let's call it what it is, right?
Yeah.
And in my city, what's fascinating here as well, and I know we have to go, but one of our counselor and one of our councilmen, he does these gatherings with men in our city. So it's men's mental health, right? So they come together ever so often. He'll post it online so the men can come together for a safe place. And recently as well, I met it's Dr. her name. I wrote an article about her. I'm sorry, I had a memory bank, but there is this fantastic woman who does mental health tours across the US only for men because men, they suppress it. And I'm sorry to say this, but don't forget recently in the news, what we saw was annihilations and unalivings, right? So we're talking about something very serious.
Yes. And there is pushback. So I posted my first video and I got comments from, I don't know if they're red pillars or what are they, but this is ridiculous. You're just trying to get clicks. So there's a pushback. Don't support men. Men don't need this support. And that's part of the problem. So it's so toxic. We have people who are trying to help. We have people who don't want men to get help. And then we have men who are looking for help and don't know exactly where to find it because their number of safe people is just non-existent. So
and guess what they end up doing? They end up self-soothing. Guess with what? Substances.
Or sex.
We could talk about this for hours.
It is fascinating. And it's
really something.
I look at it because I started the Loom Life really to help women. And then I started realizing, especially watching my boyfriend go through everything he's going through, and nobody works harder on themselves than he does. So I'm super proud of him. But realizing even people in his sphere who aren't willing to get any help. And I thought,
Mm.
and then talking to my friends who are out in the dating space and they're meeting men who are struggling. And you can say, oh, they're just every man ghosts and they're just using women for sex. But it's deeper than that. If a man is out there using women for sex, that's an addiction, that's soothing something. They're numbing something. And nobody's helping them get to whatever it is that they're numbing. So, I guess in my opinion now, I want to help everybody, and I can help women by helping men, right? There's a lack of effective conversations and support for men. We need lots of people. And when we support and hold up men, we're going to support and hold women and vice versa, right? Because
Yeah.
we all need each other.
Oh, yes.
We need healthy men to love and support us and show up in a healthy masculine way. And they need us to emotionally support them. So, yeah, there's a lot of work to be done. And I love that you are publishing and writing about it, and you have your certification, and you're just working in so many ways to support people. And I hope that you recognize like how important that is.
Thank you. And this conversation, Leslie, it was so healing on so many
Yeah.
levels. I hope you know that.
Good, good, good. I love hearing that. I want to hear more about your books and how things go. And I'm going to put all of the information for all of your social media, all of your publications, even your PR website, we'll put in the notes so people
Thank
can
you.
find you.
Mhm.
But before we wrap up, share somewhat briefly, I guess, how you best support people. And if someone wanted to read your books or reach out to you for support, how can people find you?
Like, the best way to find me is always by email. I
Okay.
can give, yeah, that's the best way to find me. I get so many DMs, and right now my Instagram is private. I'm really responsive as well on LinkedIn.
Okay.
I think those are the best ways. But yeah, it would probably be the best way to reach me. Yeah.
Okay. Tell us the name of the books.
Okay. So the first book is called Stigmatized, because a person with mental health is stigmatized, right? And I
Mhm.
even had to remove that book when I did the first book launch. I had to remove it from LinkedIn. So the contrast, I am two different people. So when you see me on LinkedIn, I'm that professional, because clients were telling me at a certain point they didn't know if they wanted to sign with me because of my book. So
Huh.
imagine writing a book called Stigmatized and still being stigmatized.
Right. Wow.
So
Wow.
the first book is called Stigmatized, Demystifying Mental Health Illness, because a person who appears to be well put together might be struggling. And the
Yeah.
second book that I wrote this year is called Unsafe, Healing from Trauma Bonds, Betrayal, and Unsafe Attachment.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for coming on and sharing and being so vulnerable. And yeah, I think that lots of people will relate to your stories and hopefully find a way to get help if they need it or find your books. And thank you so much. I loved this conversation.
So
So,
did I.
hey, I'm sure, well, we might have to have you come back because I feel like there are a few more
I would love
conversations that we need
that.
to have.
I
Yeah.
would love that. Thank you so much, Leslie.
Wonderful. All right. If anyone wants to find out more, you can look in the show notes on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. And thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.